first guest is Tammy Ryan, whose play Lost Boy Found in Whole Foods is being produced by Point Park University's The Rep. Tammy has had a long relationship with the university, having had 6 plays already produced there, most recently A Confluence of Dreaming. Tammy has won Pittsburgh Cultural Trust's Creative Achievement Award and the Heinz Endowment's Creative Heights Residency. A featured play at the 2009 National Showcase of Plays, Lost Boy Found in Whole Foods was called by the New York Times intriguing and remarkably touching. Thanks for joining us, Tammy.
Thank you for having me.
How did you come up with the idea for Lost Boy Found in Whole Foods?
Well, in 2003, I was invited by Playback Theater. Ronnie Ostfield is the director of that theater, and to do a project. They do outreach projects with different community groups, usually people who don't have a voice. And so this project was with Catholic Charities and Playback Theater, and there were about 30 Sudanese that were part of it in the beginning. To work with them. They'd only been here about a year and a half, and to give them a platform for their stories. So I wrote down everything that they said. We asked them questions, we did theater games with them, and then I wrote a play called Long Journey Home, which they performed with playback actors in 2003.
And then you took...
So I was inspired by them. I mean, I like most Americans then, and even some now, I didn't know a lot about Sudan. So I was, intrigued and, fascinated by them. They're very resilient, amazing people, and they'd been through so much trauma. And so I had to do a lot of quick research to find out, who they were, and it really stuck with me. Like the major tribe that the Lost Boys are the Dinka, and so I became fascinated with that culture, and so I started to do a lot of research. Then also, like in 2004, I moved, and there was a Whole Foods near me, and I went into Whole Foods, and there were some Sudanese working there, and I was struck by the idea that I knew about their story. I knew what they had gone through, the civil war in their country, and their villages being burned, and running away into Africa, and walking across Africa, and living in a refugee camp for 10 years, and so, and yet here they were in this abundance of fruit and vegetables, and I saw a young man cut open a papaya and feed it to a woman, and just the image of the papaya, which was very orange, and the seeds were very black, and his hands were very dark, and if I was a painter, I probably would have just painted it. But at that moment, I knew I had to write this play, and so I spent probably the next 6 years researching, reading everything I could, and talking to some more Sudanese and organizations and stuff like that.
I love how some of the characters bring up, oh, is it like Darfur, which is something that I think a lot of people know about, but they don't know about this part of it, and the characters are like, no, that's not exactly it, it's close. But I like how you really sort of bring that home, something that we all tend to know about, but then bring this other side that, you're right, a lot of people haven't heard about.
Right. Well, the play takes place in 2004, right around the time when we were starting to learn about Darfur, and it's true. And I would tell people about this play that I was working on, and nobody had heard about what happened there. So, yeah, it's another side to it. And Southern Sudan has just received its independence, so it's but it's a precarious piece right now. So it's something that people, I think, should know about.
Yes, absolutely. Will you be a part of the rehearsals at the Rep?
Yes, I have been. I've been to, actually last night I saw the designer run, which is like they do the whole play, sort of in rough form for all the designers to watch. So I've been there for the first week and answering questions for the actors and tweaking the play a little bit.
What is it like seeing your writing performed? Do you ever have such a clear vision in your head that it's sort of hard to see someone else's vision?
I have a clear sound in my head. I know how I want the words to sound. They're, I think of a play as like notes on a page, like a musical score, and there's lots of different ways you can play it, but you have to play those notes. So I have a clear sort of sound and idea of the intention, but I'm always open to what the actors and the directors and designers are going to bring in that collaboration.
What kind of questions have you been getting from the actors?
Oh, that's a tough one. Well, we talked a lot about
Or what
sort
kind
of
of like,
Sudanese.
special insight have you been able to give them since they've had the playwright?
Well, they've done a lot of their own research, so they sort of have a good base for everything. Sometimes it's just like clarification of how did you mean this line, or what my experience was when I met these guys and stuff like that. I don't know. They haven't had a whole lot of questions for me. Last night, 2 Sudanese men came to talk to them, and they had a lot of questions for them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's been a good collaboration.
You talked about, if you were a painter, you would have painted it. Why are plays your medium? Why do you write plays?
Well, I think it's because I have a good ear, and I remember dialogue. I remember how people say things, and what. I like language. I like words, but I really like dialogue. I like the way people talk. And I grew up in a big Irish Catholic working class family in Queens, so there was a lot of talking and yelling and screaming and telling stories and jokes like around the table all the time. So luckily I found playwriting where I could put like all of that. So I think it came from that.
How did you first get into playwriting? How old were you?
I was in college, and I wanted to be an actor when I first started out, but I had terrible stage fright, so that was a problem. But I wrote a play actually for myself to perform in college, and actually I didn't end up being in it. My theater teacher ended up producing it at the back of this bar called Nature's in Buffalo, and got a lot of attention, and I thought, oh, okay, this is easy. I'm going to do this. But then I had to actually learn how to write a play, so then it got a little harder.
Who are some of your favorite playwrights?
Well, there's Tennessee Williams and Sam Shepard and Carol Churchill. There's so many.
Is there a playwright that you feel like you're particularly you model yourself after, or has been sort of an inspiration for your writing?
Well, I would have to say maybe Sam Shepard, because the first play that I saw in college, or I read the play, was Buried Child, and I thought, wow, people can say that. You can write that, and for some reason I related to it, coming out of my big Irish Catholic working class family in Queens. And so yeah, I would have to say probably Sam Shepard.
How much of your writing would you say draws on real life experience and people you know, and how much of it would you say is pushed or fictionalized?
Well, I say this often about my plays. None of it ever happened, but it's all true. So I do draw inspiration from people around me, from everything that happens to me, from personal experience, but I always fictionalize it. It starts with that kernel of the real, and then I'm sort of a magpie. I sort of like collect things, people, language, scraps of memories, events, and I kind of put them together somehow in a collage in a way.
The character of Christine reminds me of another one of your characters, Carol, from A Confluence of Dreaming. Both are admittedly unfulfilled women, but they go about finding fulfillment in such radically different ways. Are you conscious of these themes, or do you come up with a story and it just comes out?
I'm not conscious of the themes. I sort of try to just, it's whatever presents itself to me at that time. But I do often write about unhappy women, but I don't think of it in that way, just that these are women struggling toward something, struggling toward, finding some meaning in their lives, or finding some happiness or some fulfillment, or so. In hindsight, I can sort of see the patterns in my work. It's often about trauma and healing, but when I start out with a story, I'm not really aware. I just know that I have, like the papaya, I was like, I have to write a play about that. I know I have to write that. It's sort of...
And it comes very early in the play, which I love.
Yeah.
It's a great launching point.
Yeah, yeah. Edward Albee has a thing he always says, he knows when he's with play. He uses like sort of the pregnancy metaphor, which I kind of laugh at a little bit, but it's true. It's sort of like something grabs you and oh, here we go. This is what we're going to have to write about now and figure out how to write about it.
And this play, Lost Boy in Whole Foods, takes place in Pittsburgh. Do you imagine what the characters' lives would be like in the city, or where they live, where they shop? I mean, clearly where they shop, where they hang out.
Right. Yeah, I think I kind of put it in the East End. I had just moved to this part of the city around that time, and you know, getting used to the Shady Side neighborhood and Whole Foods and the people that are there, and the people that I met, and you know, a few people that inspired some of the characters. Yeah, in different ways.
What about Gabriel and Panther? Where do you see them hanging out in Pittsburgh? What do you see them being like in their daily lives when they're not with Christine and Alex?
Well, I met a lot of Sudanese men, so I know a little bit about, you know, about their lives. They a lot of them live in Prospect Park, and they work at Whole Foods, they work at different places, they work at banks, they work, you know, a lot of them have come and gone. And, you know, so I know a little bit about their lives. Just, and I have a few friends that, that work with them. Kate Ruppel, who is working with a young man from Sudan, created River Nile Villages with him. It's an organization that builds schools in Sudan. And they're raising money for the last bit. They've built a school already, and now they're raising just the last bit of money to finish it. And actually, one of the performances, October 1st, the Saturday matinees, the proceeds will go to River Nile Villages.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
the Playhouse is offering that day so that we can raise some money for them. So,
well, Tammy, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this very important and deep play. I wish the best for it. Point Park University's The Rep presents Lost Boy Found in Whole Foods, running September 30th through October 16th. For tickets, call 412-392-8000 or visit them on the web at pittsburghplayhouse.com. Thank you so much, Tammy.
Thank you.